As a small business owner, there are two essential commodities that you all covet: your time and how you spend your money. It's the living lifeblood of how you put food on the table. As a result, any approach or method which makes those two things more seamless and efficient is always a winning combination. That, my friends, is why the whole notion of a fractional chief financial officer is gaining steam. With the economy tightening in some areas and the threat of a recession, many small businesses and their business operations have been impacted, leading to the need for fractional financial planning experts to help them navigate this uncertain time and any expected economic fallout. Fractional CFOs play an important role in helping businesses to manage their costs, find any potential cost savings, and plan for a more prosperous future. Stewart Ervin is someone who believes strongly in guiding businesses to make smart financial decisions. He helps them to maximize their value through a proven playbook. He's the driving force behind Bracket Management, a premier fractional CFO company. He's a seasoned expert in the manufacturing industry with a proven track record to help businesses maximize their financial performance through strategic planning. Ervin says that his approach blends proven corporate techniques with a deep understanding of the challenges faced by many small businesses today. He says that he's discovered over the years that there are only really three ways to create value for your businesses: pricing strategy, cost management, and new business growth. And Ervin joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Take a moment to welcome you to the program, and I'm super excited to learn about your experience in finance. My friend, great to see you, and happy Monday to you.
Same to you. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So, Stuart, I know that you work with people to get them to appreciate the need for a chief fractional financial officer, my friend. So I'm wondering if we could start our conversation by you telling me about your work, my friend, and what makes you so fabulous.
Yeah, so fractional CFOs are for companies who, really need the help of a CFO, but they either can't afford them full time or either they don't need one full time. Many times you'll see business owners who just need some assistance. And so luckily for those business owners, their fractional CFO allows them to get a seasoned veteran in the financial management sector for a part-time basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I know your experience lies in the manufacturing industry with, the track record of helping businesses optimize their financial performance and giving them a strategic plan, my friend. So I'm wondering if you can tell me about your unique approach, which I know combines, proven corporate results with a deep understanding of the challenges your clients may face in the small business world, my friends. And tell me about your approach and how it sets you apart, my friends.
Yeah, so for the last 10 to 15 years, I've been a business turnaround guy prior to really launching into bracket management full time. So, what that meant was small, really up to about $100 million manufacturing companies would call me when they were in trouble. It could be that their sales were starting to go backwards, their on time delivery was starting to slip, whatever the case may be. They would call me in because they were in trouble. So, what I started to realize is I really kind of developed a methodology for once I got the businesses turned, what did I put in place in order to help them grow? So I really developed 6 key plays that are focused around that. And for me, being that I got my career and I started my career in operations and then moved into finance. I also understand the numbers, but I also can tell you what you need to do and what knobs you need to turn in order to make sure that you achieve your financial results. So it's a little more than just standard reporting. It really gets into the operations of your business plus the financial results and reporting.
Yeah, and so tell me, what do you think is the key to financially turning around a small business if they're underwater?
The biggest key that I tell most people, the very first thing that we really want you to do is to develop some type of a forward looking financial plan or financial forecast. So many companies spend all their time looking in reverse and basically making moves based off of where they were. They really don't necessarily drive their business forward. So one of the very first things that we try to do is to put in a plan for at least the next quarter. Right? In a perfect world, you'd go out an entire year. But if you can at least plan and say, hey, I'm going to drive my business forward with this sales target, I'm going to drive my business forward with this anticipated margin, and I'm going to control my expenses as X, then therefore you start looking more in the windshield and not necessarily much in the rearview mirror. And now you're actually driving your business with intent.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Stuart, I know that you're someone who believes that there are creative ways to value and create value for your business using price strategies, and cost management and new business growth. And I know that those three principles are the hallmark of what you help people to try to understand. So I'm wondering if you can elaborate on that for me.
Yeah, so really, there's 3 ways to generate value or profit for a business, and it's really simple. And if you can do small moves in each of these 3 areas, it really can make a pretty decent impact to your bottom line. So the very first thing we really try to look at is pricing strategies, and that might mean, how are you pricing your product? It may mean what is your pricing strategy from one year to the next. But at the end of the day, there has to be some methodology to which and how you are pricing your product. Again, for every dollar of pricing you can get, goes directly to the bottom line in profit. The second area that we look at is controlling costs, and that really varies. Most people, you'll see that their businesses start to take an uptick. Their cost will also take an uptick. We really try to take it a different direction and say, hey, can you actually cut your cost as you grow the top line? Again, for every dollar that you cut, goes directly to the bottom line. And then the third value driver that we really push on and drive is new business growth. So many times companies get in a lull, they get excited or they get comfortable where they're at and they necessarily don't drive their business from a new business perspective. And so what we try to do is put in something that we're always driving new business. It could be a new product line to an existing customer. It could be new markets. It could be new customers as a whole. But we want to continuously make sure that we're driving new business into the company, and as there's a healthy turnover there.
Absolutely, and my friend, I don't need to tell you that fractional CFOs can also help businesses get their time back as well and free them up to do why they started their business in the first place. So I'm curious, how much of a marketing ploy or marketing asset do you think it is? So tell your small business clients, hey, if you hire me, I can help you get your time back. What are your thoughts then?
No, it's huge. Just over this last 2 to 3 weeks, I've actually had three clients tell me. Actually, there's one of them spouse said that the relief and basically their overall life has improved so much because this particular business owner has got a partner with them, right? And so now there's a level of comfort. There's a level of, hey, I can offload and delegate some of that work to Stewart as the fractional CFO. I now understand my business better than I did when it was just me. And so there's a huge aspect of it that will make your life better. Additionally, we also help entrepreneurs with their succession or exit plan. We have many cases that some of my clients are the second generation owners, and so I'm helping them gain full control of their business from the founders. And then there's some cases that I actually working with the founders and helping them pass the baton to the second generation. So there's a whole lot that a fractional CFO can help on the personal side of the business owner or entrepreneur that just makes their life as a whole better.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Stuart, let's talk now about achieving profit growth and what maintaining that looks like, and the main reasons businesses fail to reach their full potential when it comes to profit growth. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so again, we'll go back to what we kind of spoke about earlier. So many companies get a profit level that they're comfortable with. Their entire their entire business just gets to a comfort level, right? So it's very clear. I'm sure everyone's heard it. You're either moving forward or you're moving backwards, but there's no in between. And so many times you'll have a business owner or an entrepreneur that'll just kind of find a lull. They'll get comfortable, and then all of a sudden they'll look up and they're in trouble. So that's why the very first play that we try to put in place is an annual plan, so you can really drive your business forward, so you don't get caught in the snares of being comfortable. If you can drive your business forward and kind of manage those three value drivers that we discussed, inherently the profit will come.
Yeah, absolutely. And, once we turn around a business financially, Stuart, what do you think is the key to sustaining, viability as a business owner, and how can we increase educational opportunities so businesses can take more independent control of their businesses? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, that's a good question. AI is playing such a big role in that today, and there's so much information on the internet. But what I find is, even though all that information is out there, inherently, many times business owners are just not finance minded people. The biggest thing that people have to understand as an owner is you got to understand where your strengths are and delegate the rest. And so, while there's all this information out there, and you can learn so much about about what finances mean. If you just don't have a finance or an accounting brain, you're just not going to understand it. But more importantly, you may not enjoy it. And so if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to spend the time needed in order to fully understand it. And so again, that's where the benefit of a fractional CFO comes into play, because you can delegate all of that to a fractional CFO and have them report the results to you, so you can make sure you maximize your strength. So again, it's you just got to look at who you are as a person and the strengths. Again, there's a lot of stuff out there, but just focus on what you're good at and delegate the rest.
Yeah, and Stuart, I know that you have conversations each and every day with small business owners. So I'm curious, when you look at the landscape of small businesses today, what are owners telling you about challenges, successes, and how they're working to achieve prosperity? So what are people telling you around the proverbial water cooler these days about the state of small business, my friend?
Yeah, most of the conversations we have today is really centered around talent and people, right? Um, so my customers range. I've got some from startup all the way to 30 plus million, and they all say the same thing. I just can't find good help today. So that's the center of the conversation. And so what you're seeing is they have a desire to grow. They just don't have the talent to help them grow. And so their desire to grow has them working very much in the business. And so then they're approaching a burnout stage, so on and so forth. But again, the number one complaint today is around talent acquisition.
Yeah, so how do you think we close that gap of finding the right people? One of the the things that I do outside of hosting this podcast is telling business owners about the positive benefits of hiring folks with disabilities. So that certainly could be an option as well. But I'm curious to ask you about how do you think we can close that talent gap, my friend?
Yeah, so the one suggestion I normally give companies is to go ahead and post the job whether you need it or not. If you're thinking about it, post it. Because I find that a lot of times we used to in one of the companies I was working with, it was 100 to 1. I'd had to find 100. I'd have to go through 100 applicants to find the one individual that was even remotely close to being able to come in and um, interview for the job. And so that could take forever, right? And so I tell everyone, if you're thinking about hiring, go ahead and put the ad out, but you don't necessarily have to hire it unless that person or individual fits exactly what you're looking for. I mean, the talent is what the talent is in the marketplace. You hit it on the head. You have some options for disability. You have some options with temp labor. You have individuals who are coming out of rehab or jails, and so if the job allows that, have at it. But again, the biggest thing is if you're thinking about hiring, get a job description ready, get a pay range, some KPIs, throw it out there on the internet and see what shakes out. Because it could be 200 to 300 reviews before you get the 1 to 2 applicants that are come in.
Well, I always tell business owners if you turn over enough stones, eventually you'll find the right person, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Absolutely. So, Stuart, from a financial perspective, when it comes to both leadership and being well run, I'm curious, how do you define a well run business when it comes to finances and leadership, my friend? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so on the finance side, it's pretty straightforward. There's a variety of metrics that we look at. For me, I always kind of look at a 3 year running average, just like are you looking at a flash pan situation. So when you look at things, the previous 3 years, on the finance side, is super simple. How are you looking on the metrics from a quick ratio, cash ratio, debt to equity, cash flow? How are you turning your DSOs, DPOs? Pretty straightforward. From a leadership standpoint, we look at a variety of different things. One, we look and say, is the business growing? If the business is growing, that's perfect. We look, is the business also expanding their margins? Great, they are. Is the business growing net? Perfect. So that, again, shows that operationally, it has good operational leadership. But there's one key metric that we really look at and we try to determine, that is employee turnover. Employee turnover will tell you a lot about the culture of the company. For me, I enjoy going on site with my clients, and so I can kind of get a feel of the culture. But again, it's the employee turnover will give you a whole lot of perspective in regards to what is the leadership like on the people side.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stuart, I'm curious to ask you about embracing diversity as a superpower or competitive advantage in business. I talked earlier about people with disabilities and how they're disproportionately affected in the workplace. Because I believe that that smarts are equally a distributable commodity, but sometimes opportunity isn't. So tell me about your thoughts on the competitive advantage people can gain in their business if they embrace sort of diversity as a competitive pillar of their business. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, again, at the end of the day, talent is talent, whether you're able or disabled individual, right? And so, um, yeah, I don't think you should shut off anything. That's why I go back to the job description to make sure you know exactly what you're looking for. And again, if it's able bodied or not disabled, then if you have the talent, skills, and ability to meet the needs of that, then obviously you should take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stuart, I'm also curious to ask you about setting financial goals for a year. We're almost done the year of 2024, and sometimes it's important to review and sort of edit the goals that you went into a year with. So, as we close out the year, how do you think small businesses should look at their financial futures moving forward? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so for every one of my clients, we develop a 12-month budget for FY25, right? So that's a complete detailed plan from sales, cost, gross margin, SG&A expenses, and targeted net profit. If you have the ability to do that, that is 100% what you should do, because that will ensure that you're driving your business forward. That way, when you come into January 1, if you slightly miss or maybe you actually beat your expectations, great. If you slightly miss, you can change your behaviors and make sure you make it happen for February. Do it again in February to March, so on and so forth. So developing a 12-month plan for FY25 is critical, and then start putting in those plan versus actual reviews.
Yeah, absolutely. And my friend, I know that you also help business owners with supply chain setbacks when they occur and delays. So tell me, how do you help them sort of recover the efficiency part of their business or their operation when those supply chain issues happen? My friend, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so for me, actually, I got my start in supply chain and purchasing, and before I started doing business turnaround, I spent 5 years in supplier development and recovery. So I fully understand how to go into a situation where a supplier is not performing, and get them turned around. So the number one thing we're going to look at is we're going to try to determine and understand where the shortcomings are. Is it a purchasing issue internally? Is it actually truly a supplier issue? You got to look internally first. You may have demand problems and demand signals that are coming into your purchasing group that are causing issues. But at the end of the day, you got to understand where your problem's coming from. And then sometimes you develop a quick little recovery plan. You say, hey, look, I'm past dues on these jobs. Let's focus in on that. And you really drive a lot of supplier recovery efforts. Sometimes it's trying to find a second and third source, which is not always easy. But again, as soon as we walk in the door, we're going to spend at least the first 30 to 45 days somewhat manhandling the recovery efforts until we can develop second and third tier customers. Suppliers.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Stuart, I'm curious for you from a personal perspective, what does it mean to value, the most out of life, my friend? So what does it mean to you to maximize your own life potential?
Yeah. So for me, I'm a dad of four boys. Married my high school sweetheart. So for me, maximizing my life potential is make sure that I have a healthy balance of work and personal, which I do not always do a good job of making that happen. And then again, it's if my family is healthy and I'm personally healthy, then to me, I'm achieving the most out of life, right? So again, really, for me, it's a work life balance that will strike that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are your three principles for achieving happiness both in business and in life, my friend? What are those three core principles that you hold yourself accountable to?
Yeah, so for me, I'm a believer. So having a relationship with the Lord is important and try to do that on a daily basis. Second, I love my wife. So again, we're celebrating our 20-year anniversary this year. So the second principle always is make sure that I put my wife first above my kids and work. And then again, going back to probably what I was referring to as a good work-life balance. So I do everything in my power to be at every ball game, every practice, and have as many extracurricular activities with my kids as I possibly can. So the principles really center around time in those three areas of my faith, family, and then fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, my friend, that you live in the Charlotte area, and I know that living down there is important to you. So when I visit Charlotte, my friend, what do I need to put on my to-do list, my friend?
Yeah, so we've lived here almost 2 years. We live on Lake Norman, so the very first thing I'd recommend is see if you can rent you a boat and go on Lake Norman. There's a ton of good food. I'm a big comedy guy, so if you can stop off at the Comedy Zone in Charlotte's fun. And then depending on the year, we have the Charlotte Hornets, we have the Carolina Panthers, we got the Charlotte Checkers hockey, so there's a lot of sports as well. So those are all the things that I participate in. So I would recommend if you were to come down that you would do the same.
Absolutely. And, my friend, as an old sports reporter, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the state of the Panthers, my friend, because I used to cover football, but at least they seem to have a fucking quarterback these days, right?
Yeah, so we watched the game yesterday. While it was a disappointing end, I mean they held their own with the Eagles, which are now 11-2. Every game it seems like we're getting better. Unfortunately, our backfield on offense is really tarnished with injuries right now. So I would say that as a whole, I'm happy with the progression and where we're headed. I hope we can stabilize our coaching staff. We can get some healthy players in. I told my son last night, I was watching the game, I said FY25 or next season is going to be a fun season because I really believe we'll start putting the pieces together to be something.
Well, absolutely, and it looks like your owner is finally letting his people he hire actually do the job, right?
That's right. Yeah, so that's what I'm hearing is he's now completely hands off with the day to day and is letting everybody do what they got to do, and that's very exciting.
Well, I mean, there's power in delegation, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, my friend. And, my final question this morning for you, Stewart, has to do with legacy. Because, I'm a big believer in the power of self-reflection and sort of moving the needle of societal progress forward, my friend. So, if I asked you to define what you want your personal and professional legacy to be, what would be your answer, my friend?
Yeah, on the personal side, to be the best dad and husband possible. On the professional side, I want to be known as, the individual who had helped as many small businesses as possible achieve financial success that led to the owners and leaders within that company to maximize their full personal benefit.
Absolutely. Stuart, tell me, if people want to get connected with you and all the good work that you're doing, my friend, what's the best way they can do that?
You can check out my website at bracketmgmt, which is shortened for management, bracketmgmt.com. And then I'm probably most active on LinkedIn, but I'm on all the social media platforms. Just search for Stewart Ervin.
Fabulous, my friend. Well, Stewart, you're one of my first podcasts of the week, my friend, and I have to tell you, I couldn't figure a better way to spend some time than talking to you about fractional finances, my friend. You're really doing a great service in the field of small businesses, my friend. I want to wish you all the very best in your current and future endeavors, and I want to thank you for engaging in conversation with me this morning. It's most appreciated.
Thank you, Kevin. It's been a blast.